Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And you may be confused. You may be a little bewildered out there thinking that there's some other prettier female host of this show. You would be wrong. You would be wrong. But it was nice having Lady Rackets on the stream. If you didn't check that out, make sure you do. You can all make fun of me or whatever because of it. It was a good show. So I've got this new microphone set up here. So I'm hoping that remedies any of those pesky audio spikes that were happening or anything like that. But I won't know unless you tell me. So if there's a problem, please let me know. I hope the sound comes through okay. I did some testing, but as you guys know, me and technology do not work well together. So if there are any hiccups or whatever, please give me some constructive feedback so I can solve any problems. But I think we're in good shape. So it's a little loud. Okay. Too loud and too low both at the same time, huh? Okay, anyways, guys. So hopefully that'll be working here. Guys, tonight we're going to talk about Ted Douche. Is that how you pronounce his name? Is it Douche? Because that's what it kind of looks like. The spelling's a little off. Maybe it's the French version. I don't know. But he's a Florida man. So it's safe to say that he is probably running naked through a 7-Eleven right now. For no reason. It's just why. That's just what he does. That's his natural environment. Turn down your mic input volume just a hair. Absolute worst. The absolute worst. Okay. I'll turn down your mic input volume. I'm not going to sit and adjust it on the fly. I hope it will be sufficient, and if tweaks need to be made, I will make it. Don't you dare talk about Steven that way. Okay, guys, so I do want to get into this. This is going to be a little bit ranty and tangenty once we get into the main subject, because it's a subject that I feel a lot of people get wrong, is from the sound of it, just saying it in plain words seems like a thing that we should maybe do. And my brain doesn't work that way. And a lot of people may disagree with how I look at this case, at this situation, and that's okay. You're allowed to disagree with me on anything you want. All I ask is that you hear me out and give it some thoughtful consideration, because too many people don't thoughtfully consider this, and they make their opinion based on a bunch of log lines and tag lines and all of that. Ads. They make it based on ads. It's just ads given to them by a guy that looks like this way, that guy. That guy is selling you. And people that look like him are selling you. So I'm going to give a counterpoint to some of that. And I'm going to do it. And you know it'll be honest, because I will have whiskey to fuel that. So that's what we need to have happen. Let's see. We're gonna go with this Alberta Premium. It was given to me by a friend. Had some good times with him on his way passing through town. Very cool guy. Thank you, sir. I know you're watching right now, so I'm gonna enjoy a little sip. Guys, I'm going to raise a glass. I don't do this too often, but I'm going to raise a glass to me because today before I get into talking respectfully about Ted Douche, before we go all the way down that road, I'm going to tell you about my day. My day was very good today. So first, this is to me. Good job, me. And I'll tell you why in just a second. But just trust me and drink one with me for a little. For good times. Okay. Did the the mask didn't work? Maybe it's because the mic's too. They were working before. I honestly have no idea. I apologize, Bagel Goose. I really do. You think I may have blew the respectful part? Well, the question is, what did Florida Man blow? And you can take that to be a DUI joke or otherwise. I don't know. I don't know anything about Florida Man. All right, so here is what happened today. So this morning, so Bagel Goose attempted to put a mask on my face, and it said, "This better frickin' work, Nick," and then it didn't. And I despise Streamlabs for putting out a feature that doesn't ever seem to work. So I don't know what that was. And Space Reptile says, "First time awake for a stream in a couple months. Thanks for giving me stuff to listen to at work. If you and yours ever find yourselves in Kentucky, I can hook you up with an exclusive bourbon tour. I can DM if you're interested." Yes. Yes. I am always interested in that. I don't know when I'll be to Kentucky next, but I assume it will be sooner than it otherwise would have been. Okay. So here's what happened today. So I had a client meeting this morning because I still, much to my own dismay and chagrin, am a practicing attorney, which is troubling sometimes because it gets in the way of things that I would rather do, like hang out with my kids or get ready for the show or sleep. All of those things are typically preferential. But no, I still do take on clients, and I still do attempt to represent them in the best way possible. So a while back, I took on a case, and a while back was, hey, that mask worked? That mask worked? It's the other mask that didn't work. Okay, so anyway, I took on a case for a client in a very interesting, to me, situation. I took it because I came recommended. I had helped someone that this person knew, and they called me in a panic because the first court appearance in this case was the next day, and I took the case. They didn't have anyone else to go to, and it was a couple hours away from my house. So that was the main thing. It was like, do I want to drive a couple hours at like 5 a.m. tomorrow to get to a court appearance? The answer to that was no, but they didn't have anybody else, right? There was no one to help them. So of course, part of why you do defense work is to help people who have the state bearing down on them. And if you like it, I feel like if you just say no to people for those very inconvenient reasons, then that's a violation of what we set out to do, right? So I took the case, went up. The case is very strange. So this guy, someone has a restraining order against this guy, and he ended up posting, allegedly, a Google review at this other person's employer's Google page. And in that Google review, may have said some things that might have made a person angry. Okay? So typically, if someone says something about you on the internet, you have a couple options. One, suck it up. Like, that's one option. Two, file a defamation suit. If it's lies and they're trying to hurt your reputation, you file a defamation suit, right? Like, that's the answer. I, of course, am doing a series on defamation. You should check it out if you haven't. It's everything a whole bunch of people ask for. It's a bunch of information concentrated into short, digestible videos. So check those out if you haven't. But then if the other option is, I don't know, go punch the guy or whatever. But you either deal with it or you file suit. Like, if it's bad enough to cause you damage, then you have a court system. Well, apparently there's a third option. And this happens when you have a restraining order. You can pretend that the person posting things that you don't like was trying to contact you in violation of a restraining order. Okay, so you can make believe that that's what happened. And then one great thing about this country is you've got guys like Jeremy Hambley, right? Who allegedly was punched several times at a bar with witnesses. And what you can't do, for some reason, is get the cops to stand up and go check out the guy whose whereabouts are known because they're at Gen Con prominently. Is go find the guy who several people are saying assaulted another person, right? Like, you can't get him to do that. But what you can apparently get them to do is to enforce a restraining order improperly to silence the speech of someone else that you don't like, right? So they contact me, and the long and short of this already too long story is that we filed a motion to dismiss based on lack of probable cause, and then based on First Amendment free speech issues. And today, that was 27 days ago. Judges have 30 days to rule on criminal issues like this. And today, I got notification that we won. All of the charges were dismissed. My client, think about this, guys. For posting a Google review, my client was facing 3 to 5 years in prison. In prison. That was the suggested remedy for the grave infraction of posting a negative Google review. So that is why I am very happy tonight, because we won and the state can suck it. Suck it. So anyway, so that said, so Bagel Goose masked me a while back, said very disappointed, Nick. And then he did another one that was successful. It says, if this works as well, I'll be disappointed even more. Sorry to disappoint you, sir. Yep. Catch you later, Tim. No worries, buddy. No worries. Have a good night. So that's yeah, that's how my day went. You know, I do not have a bad record dealing with legal issues. I do not have a bad record with court. I believe most, if not all, of my clients are very satisfied with the results that we get. That said, it's always a good feeling to win, and it's always a better feeling to imagine the smug look of the prosecutor's face fading slowly as he reads the order. That's my happy place. When prosecutors weep into their napkins, their embroidered napkins, whatever they use. Okay, so that said, I'm in a good mood tonight, and let's leave it up to Congressman Ted Douche, serving Florida's 22nd district. to ruin that. And God, look at that face. Whew. Okay, press release. We're going to read through this and talk about it. Russell, just wanted to say that I've been enjoying the defamation series so far, and I'm looking forward to more. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. I really do. It means a lot. And I do hope... Wait. People want to know if what? That's because you use the R word, Marsupial. That's because you use the R word. Lady Rackets, you said people want to know if tea. And I don't think you've been drinking tonight, so you don't know if the gay story is true. Oh. Is the gay story that Lady Rackets told on stream true? I believe I remember everything she said. And yeah, I think every word of it's true. So there you go. All right. So on to this. I'm gonna read through this and talk about it, and we'll get into this whole Citizens United thing. So I have his press release. I do have the proposed amendment and their rationale behind it, and I also have where are they? Citizens United, which they talk about, and I have McCutcheon versus FEC, which they also talk about. So we'll see how good their Google Foo Law review is. Marsupial, I would switch it to live chat in a second, but Streamlabs has not implemented a way to do it. It doesn't exist. I cannot interact with the browser window on Streamlabs. And I've Googled the problem, and the transgender dragon building ornate people, not people, trans dragon ornate buildings over at Google have decided to either censor the answers or provide me the correct ones, and the correct ones are all unsatisfactory. So, but yeah, no, you guys, okay, you got to go watch the live stream from 2 days ago if you want to hear the story about that Lady Rackets told. It would take too long to relay, and I'd butcher it. Okay. So on Thursday, the first day of the 116th Congress, Congressman Ted Douche, Congressman Jim McGovern, Democrat, Congressman Jamie Raskin, Democrat, and Congressman John Katko, who we'll call the token Republican. And I know nothing about these people, but they're calling it a bipartisan bill because one Republican apparently hasn't read anything ever. I guess. I don't know. Introduced a bipartisan constitutional amendment to get big money out of politics and restore democratic power to the American people. As I said in the description, you can't spell United States of America, Republic, or what's the other thing I said? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember it. Federalism. United States of America, Republic, or federalism without democracy, right? That's what we have, is a democracy. Because someone took a civics class. Actually, in fairness, probably did take a public school civics class. All right. The Democracy for All Amendment. And what could go wrong? What on earth could go wrong with Congress naming something Democracy for All? I mean, it's a bit redundant. You could just call it the Democracy Amendment, I guess, because that would be democratic, would be the for all, would be the assumed part of the democratic process, if that's what you're going for. But is it really what you're going for? Okay, find the real Lady Rackets. Summary: Nick said he was gay to get in my pants. So easy. Yes. And the so easy was telling the story, but so easy to summarize. Yeah, and I regret nothing. I regret nothing. The Democracy for All Amendment affirms the right of states and the federal government to pass laws that regulate spending in elections. By the way, guys, do you remember those rights being listed in the Constitution? Do you remember them? I don't. They're not there. It's really interesting that our Constitution, which is a set of negative liberties imposed upon the government, would need an amendment allowing the government to do something. Do you want to know what the last amendment allowing the government to do something was? Income tax. That's right, because that's not in there either. You see, the government doesn't have rights. The government doesn't have any rights except the rights given to it by the people. And when we say given to it by the people, we mean the people sacrifice intentionally a set of rights to the government for the purposes of creating a state that benefits the people more than the rights that they sacrifice. Security. 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 This is the biggest, most important, and pretty much sole legitimate form or use of government. Purpose of government is security. The security of borders, the security of the people from threats, foreign, and I guess domestic, but mostly foreign, because that's what we're paying for. That's the main thing, is that if someone comes across the ocean, or if a Canadian with a hockey stick comes in threatening people, that there's some big force with big guns to say, get out, and to shoot them if necessary. That's the real purpose of government. All this other stuff is a trade that we make with the government that we created. Now, the wisdom of that trade should be questioned all the time. Like, what do we want government to provide education for our children? What's the risk? Oh, I don't know. A bunch of dummies running around, right? Because the government doesn't really educate so much as propagandize in the form of education. They present a specific version of events. Now, maybe it's the version of events that most people agree with, but that's not the country we built. I'm sorry. It just isn't. It really isn't. The version of events that matters to the individual is the version of events that matters. As crazy as that may make them, we let society deal with the crazy, right? We don't beg government to come in and correct opinions, because the government's version of the correct opinion might be horrifying. Okay? So, yeah, affirming the rights of state and federal governments is where I got off on this tangent. And I will apologize in advance for multiple tangents coming on this stuff, because I hate this line of thinking. It's for them to limit your ability to speak. Nothing else is true in this but that. I'll summarize this whole thing. This amendment limits you broke guy living in the subway, traveling around town because you don't have a home, with a bag, who smells and who has to clean off with Kentucky Fried Chicken wet wipes in a bathroom. Yes, they're limiting your right to speak with campaign finance reform. Make no mistake about it. We're going to talk about that more as we go and the more I drink. But it's not limiting the rich guy's ability to speak. It's limiting every guy's ability to speak. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Marsupial Gamer says, Dems want to repeal the First Amendment, and they found an idiot Republican to join them. Sounds like every bad idea the government has undertaken for the past 100+ years. God bless Donald Trump for finally standing up to these despots. Refreeze. We'll talk about Citizens United when we get in there. We'll talk about it when we get into that. Don't worry, there will be talk about it. Affirms the rights of states and federal government to pass laws that regulate spending in elections, reversing the concentration of political influence held by the wealthiest Americans and large corporations capable of spending millions of dollars in our elections. Well, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo to you that someone spends more than you want. I'm sorry. Get over it. Or go find a commie country and hang out there. That's not who we are. That's not who we are. This legislation comes days before the 9th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court's disastrous ruling in Citizens United case. Anonymous says, how many of her guy friends did you have to sleep with before you got to the final boss? 0. 0, actually. Thank goodness. That would have been tough to maintain the facade. Okay. For more information on the amendment, click here for a background summary and click here for a section-by-section answered facts. Frequently asked questions. We've got those. We'll go there in a little bit. Quote, years after the Citizens United decision, election spending has exploded into billion-dollar races that corrupt our elections. How? Wait a minute. Where's your evidence that corrupt our elections by drowning out the voices of American voters? Now, guys, when was the last, when did you hear any opinions on the election last? When was it? I don't know. Turn on Twitter. Just turn on Twitter and look at it for 5 seconds. And you will see a deluge of stupid opinions about American politics, and specifically the President of the United States. The trending hashtag today was hashtag impeach the MFer. Okay? And that came from a dumb congresswoman. A stupid idiot who decided that profanity was the way to get her point across because maybe she's right. Maybe that is the way to get the point across to her demographic. It's not arguments. It's not evidence. It's profanity. That did it. There you go. Ha! Impeach him. For what? For what? You've had a guy investigating him for, 2 years? A year and a half? And they've barely come up with anything. And pretty much none of it even comes close to being on the radar of impeachment. What are you going to impeach him with? You've just been saying it. It doesn't make it true. You don't have to like him. You don't have to like his policies. But impeach? Impeach for what? What did he do? Put something on the table. But you can't. So impeach the MFer. Replace evidence. Replace credible accusation. Replace even speculative accusation with bracket profanity, and suddenly you've got a bunch of parroting morons out there willing to slather on. I mean, if money bought elections in the way these dopes claim that it does, would we have a communist like Ocasio-Cortez, is that her name? Running around, frolicking about on YouTube, and then a bunch of really really high-level thinkers like Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt, the funniest man I've ever seen. Patton Oswalt talking about owning the Republicans for some Republican out there, like, made fun of the fact that she was dancing around and called her careless or something. I mean, and of course, who cares what his stupid opinion is anyway? But like, look at all the Republicans so mad over this dance. Who's actually mad over the dance? Like, who actually is mad about this? I think it's funny that both sides right now are on their knees thanking God that that dumb idiot has stopped talking. Like, she just stopped talking and danced for 2 minutes, and it was the best campaign speech she gave, period. That's the saddest state of Comunizio Cortez, is that when she shut her dumb mouth and just batted her eyes and shook her booty around at the camera, everyone was happy. Everyone was like, oh, thank God. We thought we were going to have to power up the helicopter, and now, turns out, she's just normal. Great. Great. I can't understand it. So, yes, all the deep thinkers on Twitter are out there now, slamming the Republicans. Republicans tried to dislocate. No, a Republican, or maybe a small group. Most people don't care. And if you do care, why? You know she's an idiot. Just listen. Okay. Here we go. So yes, drowning out the voices of American voters, which is why Democratic Socialist Bernie Sanders probably would have won against Hillary Clinton, but that wasn't the electoral process. That wasn't federal election law that let Bernie Sanders down. That was the Democrat National Committee's internal rules that let Bernie Sanders down. And that's why Trump is president today. But, I mean, are we kidding here for a minute? Drowning out the voice of American voters? A populist nationalist got elected over a disgusting, murdering, corporatist hag named Hillary Clinton. A populist nationalist got elected over someone who raised tons of money, massive amounts of money from super PACs, from corporations, from every virtue signaling lefty in the world, dumping money into the campaign. And the populist, who everyone said wouldn't win, all of the money said wouldn't win, all of the paid thinkers said couldn't possibly win, that guy won. That guy, the populist that appealed to people directly, not the people voting for Hillary swallowing a poison pill after she ran roughshod over Bernie Sanders, after she just spread wide and put Bernie Sanders to shame. Like, are we serious here? Drowning out the voices of American voters. Oh my. All right. Said Congressman Douche. Meaningful political participation cannot be reserved for individuals with extreme wealth and special interests. Really? Really? It isn't. It isn't reserved. It isn't reserved for them. In fact, they're the minority on Twitter, and just because they get a bunch of retweets doesn't mean anything. Anybody, any dummy on the planet can walk out or can hop on Twitter and Facebook and spew their opinion to the world and get thousands to millions of likes, retweets, whatever it is. They can get all that just by saying something that people want to hear. It's amazing. We have more political autonomy now than literally ever. And they want to limit money in politics because why? How does this benefit them? Because it does. It's coming. Extreme wealth and special interests, and we cannot continue to allow those who spend the most to dictate public policy. They don't. They really don't. I mean, the people who spend the most on elections do not dictate public policy at all. They're trying to change something, yes. They certainly don't dictate public policy. You see, he's conflating things here. He's conflating Citizens United, which allows you to spend money advertising for someone else without their consent and without their input. It allows you to do that. It allows you to literally speak your opinion to the world rather than a filtered money funnel into Congress. Because that's what this is. If you don't have Citizens United, you have a limited, regulated channel of money funneling into Congressman Douchebag's mouth and coming right out of his anus in the form of political ads that he wrote or his team wrote and that he approves and stamps. And that's it. And that's it. Citizens United allows anybody to put up money and say anything that they want about a politician. Period. That is freedom. It's not the freedom to funnel money to a dope who's going to say something that you might not agree with. How is that free in the slightest? All right. Continue to allow those who spend the most to dictate public policy that is out of step with our country. From climate change to gun violence. Oh, okay. The issues that are most important to the American people are dominated by the will of the bottomless pockets that fund elections rather than the will of voters. There it is. There it is. Those are the most important issues to the American citizens. And those issues, because climate change is definitely dominated by the deepest pockets. All of the climate change research and opinions definitely dominated by evil corporate interests, right? Like that's who gets the news cycle on climate change. It's the big oil company saying, actually, we don't really see a measurable impact. We have some of the best scientists in the world because we pay them more than anybody else will, and we can't find the same level of impact that they're having. Or we have these solutions that Congress will never implement because they're focused on wind or solar or whatever. Because we have a nuclear embargo, right? Because remember, it's the big money that's dominating the national discussion on climate change. It's not, and on gun violence. On gun violence, it's not the 17-year-old gay boy, David Hogg, running around with overly produced cheekbones and way too much makeup for camera. It's not him. It's not him who is adjacent to the mass shooting. Not shot at. Not him. He was adjacent to it. He knew some people who died. I know people who have died. That doesn't make me an authority on whatever killed them, by the way. And a 17-year-old in high school isn't an authority on anything. I'm sorry, you're just not. You're just not. And David Hogg has, every time he opens his mouth, will tell you he's not an authority. It's just in a different language. But who dominates the discussion on gun violence? It's the Parkland survivor. That's who dominates the discussion on gun violence. Even on the right, it's Kyle Kashuv. For a while, I don't know if people pay attention to him anymore. But that's who it was. Well, these kids survived a mass shooting. Let's listen to them. They're certainly versed in constitutional law and the history of despotic governments taking guns away from the citizenry and the disastrous or beneficial results that may occur, right? They're experts on it because they just took that class in public school. But who dominates the discussion? It's the NRA. Even the right doesn't like the NRA because the NRA, well, I can't even say what the R stands for anymore. I can't even say it. I'll probably get thrown off of YouTube. None of these people dominate the deep unlimited pockets don't dominate the discussion. Okay. We need to overturn Citizens United to get big money out of politics. Strengthen our democracy. We don't have a democracy. We have a republic. And restore power to the American people. All right, here we go. A couple chats to come through. Siren Jack says, my name is Nick Rekieta, and I save all of my old fancy liquor bottles. I keep them just to impress you all. I refill them with cheap crap like Heaven Hill and Barton's, and you all are none the wiser. Yes, that's true. Anonymous masked me and said, that's Bagel Goose. Joke's on you, Nick. When I turn on Twitter, all I see are big ol' anime titties. Well, I guess you follow the right people? I don't know. Kikagazumi through Super Chat says, have you looked into the black metal labels being banned from PayPal due to being labeled as high risk and reputational risk, among other things, effectively barring them from using banks? I have not looked into it. I have seen it. I will be looking into it very soon. The Orange Cow, going with your gut. How likely do you think this is to be enacted? Very unlikely. Very unlikely. And yes, I did see that David Hogg is now going to Harvard, despite being rejected by every single college he applied to a year ago when his SAT scores were public news, public information. Once that sort of settled down, everyone forgot. Harvard snatched him up quick because he's the leader. The Orange Cow, oh yeah, Super Iron Bob. More importantly, Citizens United allows for common citizens to pool their money and compete on the same level as single entities with large amounts of money and influence. You know what the situation, the case was specifically about? Yes, I do, and we're going to talk about it, Super Iron Bob. We're going to talk about all of this stuff because this is insane. This is insane. Poop puppets. Republic is not a subset of democracy. You can have democratically elected Republican officials, representatives. You can do that. And we kind of do. But we're going to talk about how democratic this country was when it was founded, for better or worse. For better or worse, we're going to talk about what it was when we were founded. And we did not have a democracy until it became politically expedient for a politician to have a democracy. That politician, by the way, to start it, was Andrew Jackson. Scotch time. Do you intend to read Citizens United response that was posted as an editorial to Fox? I didn't know about it. I could. We'll see if we can get through this one in the time allotted for the stream. Is virtually unlimited. Okay. Someone mentioned lobbying. Lobbying being too influential. One, I disagree that lobbying is a problem. I think the results of some lobbying is a problem. Lobby harder. With your results. You put your money down. Like this is the amazing power of a representative republic. Especially one that values speech the way we're supposed to. Is that if someone else is lobbying, and maybe we don't want backroom lobbying or whatever, but let's say you just have a bunch of very influential and charismatic people going to Congress, making friends with congressmen, and then talking about the issues that they care about. If you don't like them, pay someone to go do it. Pay someone. That's what they did. The playing field is so absurdly level that I can't express. Money and guns, guys. It equalizes the world. Before money, you had royalty. Like, when you have a monarch who controls the currency and who owns all the property, then money isn't an equalizer. When anybody can convince anybody else to give them money for whatever purpose, then you're level. Period. Go hire someone. If you can't afford it, and if you can't attract other people, then maybe your cause sucks. I'm sorry that you might not like that answer, but maybe it sucks. And if it doesn't suck, talk to someone else. Call your neighbor. Kidnap their kid or whatever. Eat their cat. I don't know. Convince them. Someone else did. Like this whole, oh, we've got money buying influence. Well, yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. Because someone thought it enough, important enough, to put their dollars, their labor behind it. So put yours behind it. That's the answer. Not, well, we don't want them to spend on what I don't like. No, you put your money down or shut up and take it. One of the two. We actually do a really good job of this. It's almost like we have two massive parties that funnel the basic 50-50 ideology of the country and effectively, for better or worse, distribute resources to these main set of causes that appeal to people. Like, we do that. There's a counter group for every group. For the NRA, there's the Brady Act and mayors across 1,000 cities or whatever. Like, or not the Brady Act, the Brady Campaign Against Gun Violence. By the way, if you think the NRA is money, the Brady Campaign Against Gun Violence has tons of money. And they also have a bunch of corpses to stand on. And if you don't think those corpses are worth money, then you're a fool. And they love them. Man, does the Brady Campaign Against Gun Violence love to stand on the biggest mountain of dead kids they can. They love it. They do it constantly, and those dead kids are worth more than any green piece of paper. All right. Let's see. Bagel Goose says, this is to rush Clay's liver to failure. Bagel Goose says, F Clay, drink. Siren Jack says, dance, Clay's liver, dance. Yeah. Take it, Clay. Okay. Oh, yeah. How about Mothers Against Drunk Driving? How about that one? How about all of these? Money. They act like money's a one-sided issue. Where's the pro-drunk driving group? Where are they? The Landau group, I guess. Oh, that was a joke. That was a joke. All right. Sorry, I'm going to get through this at some point. Quote, let's not mince words here. Here's a big thinker. For too long, the needs of the American people have taken a backseat to the needs of corporations that dump unlimited amounts of money into political campaigns. Where? I mean, where? Like, honestly, what law is doing this, practically speaking? Where is it? And what law do we want doing this? What hasn't happened that the American people want, and not the Democrat voters? Because that's who McGovern's talking about. That's who. People who just want sensible gun reform. Well, what about people who just want sensible voter ID laws, right? Screw that opinion. That opinion's not important to the American people. I mean, it's important to a huge swath of the American people, but that one's not important, right? Anthony says, tuned in during a high-quality rant. I love it. Also, Weefek is gay. Weefek? You know what's up. Bagel Goose says, heart you, Clay. Finger, wink, finger? Make sure you get consent on that one, Bagel Goose. Okay. From gun violence, Congressman McGovern. Here we go. It's, oh, wait. I skipped down. No, I didn't. I didn't skip down. Turns out it just looks like maybe they have a script. From gun violence to healthcare costs. Hey, remember the populists? The populists that passed the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act that said your healthcare costs aren't going to go up now, and then change that to, well, they won't go up as much as they would have. They would have, I mean, you guys would have been sacrificing children to Moloch if we hadn't passed a Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. What would you have done? Have to give your kids up to the state, right? Like, what happened? Where are the healthcare costs? Where was all the reform, like all of the popular voices out there saying, hey, why don't you just open up the regulated insurance market and allow them to compete across state lines? So instead of buying a $22,000 life insurance or health insurance policy in New York, I can buy an $8,000 health insurance in Oklahoma. What happened to that one? Instead, we got the Affordable Care Act. Healthcare costs coming from Congressman McGovern. Oh. Let's see, what's next? Oh, to climate change. The issues Americans care about have been held hostage by wealthy special interests. No. No more. We've got to solve this. And you know when Congress is going to solve something, it's going to get solved the right way. And we have to overturn the disastrous Citizens United decision to restore the power of the ballot box to get big money out of politics. Wait a minute. All of these words sound the same. Quote, in Citizens United, 5 Supreme Court justices overturned 2 centuries. No, 2 decades. You idiot. 2 decades. 1990 to 2010. 1990 to 2010. 1990 was the decision, the oldest decision overturned by Citizens United. 2003 or 4 was the other one. And you overturned McCain-Feingold, which was 4 years old. Get over it. 2 decades, not 2 centuries. You know who I'll quote? The last dumb cuck to say that to America? He said, all right, we'll overturn 2 centuries of jurisprudence. And what did John Roberts, not the favorite of conservatives right now, John Roberts, sitting in the front row of that State of the Union address? That's not true. Or was it Scalia? I think it was Scalia. Maybe it was Scalia. Maybe it was Scalia's ghost. I don't remember if it was Roberts or Scalia. That's not true. Because it's not true. And you know what's sad is in their own Q&A document, they say it the other way. Because this is a talking point, it's an ad, and it's a lie. Congressman Raskin, hold on. Who is this? What's their background? Oh my good Lord. I apologize. I apologize. In advance. There you go. That's Jamie Raskin. Gross. Gross. What's his background? I'll get that. I have Harvard Law School. This is a lawyer. Apparently. 84 to 87. Wait, no. What? As a law professor, he taught constitutional law. Should know better. Should know better. Doesn't. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Watch out. Skaven invasion. The Skaven are coming. The Buzz CJC says your Obama is better than Shapiro's, sir, and his is darn good. Thank you. Thank you. The Orange Cow, do you consider congressional term limits as an acceptable, effective way to reduce lobbying problems? Yes, very much so. Siren Jag says that pick killed Clay's liver. It's dead. It's dead, Jim. It's dead. Oh my goodness. Thoughts on the Dems moving to eliminate the Electoral College? They should eliminate themselves. In Minecraft. Or whatever. As hundreds of millions of dollars in dark money. So you know they're lying because Jamie Raskin's clearly a racist. He's against dark money. Disgusting human being. Listen to that. Racial rhetoric. Absolutely no place. This is 2019. This is more current year than the last current year. Because this is actual current year. Dark money are spent by CEOs. Oh, he's talking about Tim Cook. In the name of their unwitting shareholders. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how CEOs... That's why they stay CEOs. Is they're unwitting shareholders. As a corporate entity... lobbies and tries to influence American politics to the benefit of the shareholders, its unwitting shareholders hate them and don't ever vote them out. Oh my god. Okay, where am I? We are seeing what court-ordered plutocracy looks like. None of these guys, by the way, would dare call out MasterCard or Visa or any of the platforms deplatforming right-wing talkers. None of them. None of them would. Samuel Alito. Not true. Thank you, Marsupial Gamer. Samuel Alito. But that horrific rat beast probably knows better than Alito. But the democracy is stirring. As the exciting 116th Congress convenes, it's time we remind America of what popular government looks like. That's, you know, Trump said the same thing. It's almost like the populists just want, like, what popular government looks like. Wait, you mean the popular government that was just elected against the will of the evil corporate interests? If corporate money is influencing politics, Ratskin, you're a product of it. Because you just got elected again. All right. What could be exciting about a dark money-fueled cabal of Congress? Time we remind America of what popular government looks like. Just this Congress, guys. This one managed to overcome all of the dark corporate money. This one did it. None of the others ever have. Those are all, but this one did. Trust us. Trust us. This one got him. Yeah, we just happened to. Now's our chance. Regulate, regulate, regulate. Let's see. That's why I'm proud to support this bipartisan amendment to rebuild the wall. He should have stopped at wall of separation between massive private corporations and the people's public elections. Oh, yeah, that's where the wall is. Bagel Goose says, can you say that guy who you pulled up's name again, but throw some echoes around it? I don't have a soundboard to actually put echoes around. Oh, Raskin. Okay, next quote. Here's the Republican. I have long supported a constitutional amendment to reform our campaign finance system and firmly believe that we must take a bipartisan approach to make this happen, Congressman Katko said. I'm proud to join Representative Douche and a number of my colleagues in reintroducing this legislation today as we take the first step in the new Congress towards real reform. Now here's the best part. Here's the best part. Now we're going to get quotes from a bunch of special interest groups, right? Because there's no money in this. This is the purity of the democratic system, is that we don't have a bunch of moneyed opinions following the dumb congressman selling us this heap of a used car. Here it comes. Here comes a bunch of corporate money. Let's see. Let's take a look. Public Citizen. Here we go. Public Citizen. Public Citizen is a nonprofit, liberal, progressive consumer rights advocacy group and think tank based in Washington, D.C. with a branch in Austin, Texas, which is Washington, D.C., Texas. Lobbying efforts. Public Citizen advocates before all three branches of the United States federal government. Its 5 divisions include Congress Watch, Energy, Global Trade Watch, the Health Research Group, Healthcare, and Public Citizen Litigation Group, Lawyers, a nationally prominent public interest law firm founded by Alan Morrison and known for its Supreme Court and appellate practice. Broadly speaking, Public Citizen favors robust corporate accountability and strong government regulation, particularly in the areas of transport, healthcare, and nuclear power. Again, really concerned about that global warming. Revenue, $17.224 million in 2014. There you go. That's no corporate money there. Do you have $17 million, by the way? Because I know $17 million is kind of a joke in lobbying money, but think about it. In 2014, these dopes made $17 million and took it straight to Congress. Did you? Did you? Because this is the person. This group is saying that they're trying to make it better for you while they do it by spending money that you don't have. H&K, have you ever talked about the Harvard Asian admissions case? No, not yet. I'll probably get around to talking about racial decisions in college applications at some point. Let's see what this page shill has to say. Supreme Court's decisions in Citizens United, Buckley versus Vallejo, and related cases are antithetical to democracy. Said Robert Weissman, president of Public Citizen. They stand for the proposition that corporations and the super rich should be able to drown out the voices and votes of everyone else. No, they literally don't. They absolutely don't. And it's funny because a giant, overbearing, super powerful hag is the reason that Citizens United occurred. Because it was a small, independent political activist trying to put out a video about Hillary Clinton. That's what was going on. And they have, in fact, enabled the big money donor class to dominate our politics. As a direct result, and again, without the superdelegate system and Hillary Clinton literally taking over the DNC funding, by the way, the RNC and the DNC are not government entities. They're private. They're private entities. The RNC and the DNC, all of these guys run through the biggest super PACs that ever existed. Are the RNC and the D. Where's the campaign spending limits up from the RNC or the DNC? Where are those? Why does the RNC get a pass on the individual contribution limit to a political campaign? You tell me that. You tell me why the DNC doesn't have that same $2,500 or whatever dollar limit is that you have or that McDonald's has. Why is that? Pray tell. Because these people are part of the biggest lobbying firms in the world. The two biggest. What was the 2016 revenue for the DNC? $1.6 billion, something like that. The RNC, $1.4 billion. What product do they produce? One produced a necromancer and the other produced a Cheeto with a bad hair day. Like, are we serious here? we've just agreed that two groups should control all of the money, right? Like, that's what we did. We all as Americans got together and agreed on that, right? RNC and DNC? RNC and DNC? Who has a politician in their pocket? Who has the politicians in their pocket? Why do we have party line votes? Because we have a two-party system that aggregated all the money into two buckets and just showers it onto the fat, naked bodies of congressmen with literal like Roman bathhouses in the Senate building. 24-hour free gyms for them. Oh, and a free massage with the happiest of endings coming from your best Asian masseuse right there in the Senate House, right? But it's other money that's bad. It's other money that's controlling the votes. As a direct result, we have a government responsive to corporate and super rich demands, not public platforms by the giant lobbying firms, the RNC and the DNC. No one's beholden to those. They're all beholden to the shekels thrown out by what? By the Koch brothers. By the Koch brothers. But derisive of overwhelming public support to guarantee health care to all. There it is. There it is. Socialized health care. Slash drug prices. Raise the minimum wage. This kind of starting to sound like communism, folks. Avert catastrophic climate change. We need a new god. Communists always need a new god because the old god, the actual god, isn't suitable. So you need a new god. This one's the climate. The modern Communist Party. And more. The Democracy for All Amendment will finally return us to a government of we the people. Yep. Public citizen. Thanks, Reps Douche, McGovern, Raskin, and Katko for leading the way to what will be the 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. I wonder who wrote it. I wonder who paid to have a nice dinner with the congressman. I wonder who convinced the Republican. Next, nonpartisan government watchdog group, Common Cause. Let's see. Common Cause is a watchdog group based in Washington, D.C. with chapters in 35 states. It was founded in 1970 by John W. Gardner, a Republican, who was the former Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare in the administration of President Lyndon B. Johnson, as well as chair of the National Urban Coalition, an advocacy group for minorities and the working poor in urban areas. Wait, that can't be true because they're Republican. All right. As initially founded, Common Cause was prominently known for its efforts to bring about an end to the Vietnam War and lower the voting age from 21 to 18. Sometimes identified as liberal-leaning. No! What are you talking about? That can't be true. Common Cause has also been identified as a nonpartisan. And advocates government reform. It is identified with the reformist good government movement and is often described as a watchdog group. The organization's tagline is holding power accountable. And its stated mission is to work to create open, honest, and accountable government that serves the public interest, promotes equal rights, opportunity, and representation for all, and empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. The group is organized as a 501c4 organization, though its sister organization, the Common Cause Educational Fund, is a 501c3. Money in politics. 1972. Common Cause sued President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign, the Committee for the Re-election of the President, under the Federal Corrupt Practices Act, an attempt to force Nixon's campaign to report early campaign contributions. Lawsuit forced the disclosure of the names of several Nixon donors. In 74, Common Cause supported passage of the Federal Election Campaign Act. This is why we have campaign limits, encompassing public financing of presidential campaigns and oversight of campaign ethics through the FEC. Common Cause has advocated for public financing of elections, because who better to tell you who the best governor is for you than the government, right? It's best if the government decides where to send the money. in order to decrease the influence of special interest contributions. They're literally a special interest group. Oh my goodness. Annual combined budget of around 10 million. That's not revenue, folks. That's a budget. That means I'm betting they're funded by an endowment. And they're funded by an endowment. And if you don't know anything about 501c3s and C4s, they have annual distribution requirements to their charitable purpose. There's a percentage of the principal balance that needs to be distributed each year. If your budget is $10 million, I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and say that 10 million is the minimum or very near the minimum amount required based on their principal balance that they have to spend, that they must spend each year, which makes a principal balance, what is it? Somewhere close to $1 billion. All right. Crash42 says, "Mud democracy." Yes, absolutely. So let's see what the nonpartisan, completely not a lobbyist group has lobbied to say. When special interests in big corporations have undue influence over politics, our communities and our children suffer. Think of the children. Think of the children. Said Aaron Sherb, Director of Legislative Affairs at the nonpartisan government watchdog group Common Cause. We commend Congressman Douche, Congressman McGovern, Congressman Ratkin, and Senator Udall, that's Bob Udall, and other members of Congress. They didn't even thank the Republican, those jerks, for their leadership in championing the Democracy for All Amendment. This common sense measure, and you know it's good if it's a common sense measure, would bolster our constitutional values of political equity or equality and democratic self-governance when passing laws to advance the voices of all Americans in our democracy. It doesn't advance any voices. It literally restricts some voices. That's all it does. You cannot advance a voice by putting a limit on another voice. It doesn't happen that way. That just makes one person quiet. It doesn't make the other person loud. All right. Next. People for the American Way. People for the American Way is a liberal advocacy group in the United States. Organized as a 501c4 nonprofit organization, People for the American Way was registered in 1981 by the television producer Norman Lear, who founded the organization in 1980 to challenge the Christian right agenda of the moral majority. Revenue in 2014, $5,768,000. Expenses, $5,690,000. There you go. Right Wing Watch. Oh. Look at that. People for the American Way, a left-wing group, monitors what it characterizes as right-wing activities. Toward this end, the organization sponsors a website called Right Wing Watch. Well, gosh, it's like, Oh, here we go. Leadership. Michael Keegan is the organization's president. Members of this group's board of directors include John Hall Buchanan Jr., Alec Baldwin, Seth MacFarlane, Mary Frances Berry, Julian Bonds, Burtis Down Syndrome IV, James Hormel, Dolores Huerta, Jane Lynch, Josh Sapin, Dennis Van Rokel, Howie Klein, and Reg Weaver. Weird. It's almost like it's run by people with disproportionately powerful voices. Disproportionately powerful voices who all talk about politics all the time, even when we beg them to shut up and dance for our money. We've got the politician Ocasio-Cortez dancing, and we've got the paid little monkeys not dancing, but giving their political opinions and using their undue influence. How would this even practically work? Because what if Alec Baldwin does a movie which glorifies some liberal politician, or vilifies or satirizes a Republican donor, right? 30 Rock, Alec Baldwin. Right. I mean, what practically, if you eliminate spending on political campaigns, Saturday Night Live is an ongoing political ad. That's what it's become. That's what it is. Jimmy Kimmel is a non-stop political ad. I guess he can't do a show. Thank God. I'm for it. I'm for it now. I just thought through this. Whew. Oh, good. Good Lord. Okay. American democracy has become increasingly broken and beholden to big money, contributing to rising inequality and injustices across the board. Now is the time for bold solutions. No, now is never the time for bold solutions. Our country was literally built averse to bold solutions. We did a big one. It was pick up guns and shoot the guys regulating us from across an ocean. Since then, we've really kind of tempered the bold solutions as much as possible. We wholeheartedly support the reintroduction of the Democracy for All Amendment. Americans deserve a democracy that serves the interests of all of us, not just the privileged and powerful. Coming from a literal demonic boardroom full of the privileged, the ultra privileged and powerful. I mean, are we joking? Okay, free speech for people. Let's see them. I have a feeling I know what I'm going to read. Free speech for people. Oh, this one actually says a nonpartisan nonprofit organization founded in 2010 to advocate for a new constitutional amendment to limit campaign spending and to repeal the doctrine of corporate personhood. Free Speech for People has expanded its work since its founding and currently engages in efforts related to legal advocacy, corporate charter reform, and anti-corruption. In January 2017, Free Speech for People joined nonprofit Roots Action to launch the Impeach Donald Trump Now campaign to target corruption at the highest levels of government. It's like a script. In August 2018, the organization released the book, The Constitution Demands It, The Case for the Impeachment of Donald Trump, authored by Free Speech for People Executive Director John Bonifaz, Legal Director Ron Fine, and Board Chair Ben Clements. Let's see who John Bonifaz is. Amherst-based attorney and political activist specializing in constitutional law and voting rights. Let's see. Former candidate for Massachusetts Secretary of the Commonwealth. Oh, he's got a Genius Award. Good job. Let's see. It's like all of the stuff that they've done, though they're nonpartisan, is very left. Anyway, let's see what else we've got. In response, so this is founded in response to Citizens United. Democracy for All Amendment. Let's. Yeah. Impeachment campaign. That's challenging President. Well, there you go. I don't know. I don't know, guys. It kind of looks like a bunch of Kind of looks like a bunch of special interests are writing a bill. Let's read this. Sorry. I'm getting depressed. Because it's either depressed or angry. American democracy. Oh, wait, no. Across the political spectrum, Americans want a constitutional amendment which will reclaim our democracy. Do they? I've never heard of this. I've never once. And I have friends everywhere. I have friends every political party. I'm friends with everybody. People really like me. I'm very likable. Never once has someone in numerous political discussions said, you know what I want? I want an amendment to the Constitution to reclaim our democracy. Not a single person has ever said that to me. That's anecdotal. But I talked a lot of politics over the past decade. Democracy for All amendment would allow for overall campaign spending limits and would end the big money dominance of our elections. We applaud the reintroduction of this amendment, and we urge Congress to pass it and send it to the states for ratification. Next, Jeff Clements. Oh, that's weird. Jeff Clements was a co-founder of Free Speech for People, and now we've got American Promise. A national, nonprofit, nonpartisan grassroots organization that advocates for a 28th Amendment. There we go. Okay. I gotta stop. I'm gonna stop reading about these people because I don't like any of them. All right. On behalf of our nearly 200,000 supporters in all 50 states. Yeah, PewDiePie is more important than you. Actually, Mumkey Jones is more important than you. How sad are you? Everybody wants this. Guys on YouTube have more support than them. Like, that's just... American Promise applauds the introduction of this constitutional amendment with bipartisan support. An amendment is a necessary foundation in securing free and fair elections for all Americans, not just wealthy donors and special interests. You know what would move towards a free and fair election? Voter ID. Making sure that the person voting is who they say they are. That'd be free and fair. And actually, most people would support the government making identification for the purposes of voting free for that regard. Because I know there's a thing where you think black people can't afford it, so that makes it racist. Because you think black people can't afford it, that makes it racist. But actually, I think just about everybody would be in favor of saying, you know what? If you're going to have me carry an ID to secure the election, you provide the ID. Deal. Done. Not interested in that one. Let's see. Eliminating the undue influence of big money in our political system is not a partisan issue. Isn't it? Because it kind of looks like a partisan issue. It's an American one. American Promise is a national cross-partisan organization that empowers all Americans to work together for the 28th Amendment so that people, not money, govern America. It includes a distinguished advisory council consisting of former U.S. Senator Olympia Snowe, Republican, sort of, from Maine, former Governor Michael Dukakis, Democrat from Maine, former U.S. Senator Alan Simpson, Republican from Wyoming, and many others. A former senator who's a Republican from Wyoming? What did he do? Murder someone? Must have retired. Fresh42 says, I'd be okay with an amendment to restore our democracy if it means term limits for Congress. And by term limits, I mean a free one-way trip to the sun in Minecraft. Oh my goodness. All right. There we go, guys. That's the press release. And remember, Ted Douche wants your support. He's going to clean out Washington. Oh, guy's never found a front hole in his life. Oh my goodness. How many kids does Ted Dooch have? It doesn't say. Doesn't say how many kids he has. Personal life. Yeah, maybe I'm drinking too much, guys. I can't take it. I can't take it. Okay. I can't take it. Here we go. Can you read this? Can you read it? Tools. I don't know if I can zoom it. I can't zoom it. Guys, it personal life. I'm looking to see if this guy has any kids because I have a feeling I'm looking at him and I don't think he knows how to make them. Personal life. Dooch is a vegan. That's it. His entire identity can be wrapped up. He's a vegan. Oh my gosh. Oh, we won't even talk about this. Oh. He's a walking meme. He's a walking meme. Oh. Bagel Goose says, how many kids does his wife have? Oh. Oh. He has 3 kids? I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a minute. Oh. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, moving on. Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh boy. Okay. All right, I need to compose myself. Can't take it. I can't take it. Oh. Someone was asking if I was going to get the anger hives. Yeah. I got him. I got him. Bagel Goose says the pool boy has 3 kids. Oh, wow. John Penn, read the response. Let me find it. Man, it's hard to find. Does anybody have a link to the Citizens United? Does anybody have a link to that response that they did? Because I'm shockingly, I'm having trouble finding it. Okay. Lydia, would you drink Hendrick's gin if I sent you some? If you sent me some, I absolutely would. I've never had it. I don't know how it would be, but I like gin, so I would definitely drink. I would drink anything. No. Correction. I would drink most things people would be kind enough to send me. Had to lawyer that one down a second. Speaking of gin, I'm going to have a little bit of gin. Yeah, if someone could send me the link to that Fox response. Can't post it in the chat. Just send it to me on Twitter if you could. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. So, while we wait for that, let's read the amendment section by section. Section 1. To advance democratic self-government and political equality, and to protect the integrity of government and the electoral process, Congress and the states may regulate and set reasonable limits on the raising and spending of money by candidates and others to influence elections. Problem. U.S. Congress. Should U.S. Congress be able to do any of this? Question for the chat. Like, under our constitutional system, our Federalist Republic, our Republican form of government guaranteed to us by the Constitution, our Federalist system, should the National Congress be able to regulate elections of anybody? I'll if you guys have any ideas on that, let me know. I'm going to take a sip of this gin. Not sure. I'm going to put it in the chat here. I will start adding it to the descriptions. But I'm going to put it in here. There you go. There's the P.O. box. No one has to send me anything. I, of course, appreciate things that people do send me very much. If you want to send me something, P.O. Box 97, Spicer, Minnesota 56288. If that doesn't work, some places won't ship to a P.O. box. Get in touch with me privately if you really want to, and I can get you some instructions. I'm working on an alternate address for receiving packages specifically that can't go to a P.O. box, but for now, that's what I've got. Okay. Couple chats to come through, and then we'll hit that one. Bagel Goose says, and here I was about to send in my urine sample. Thank you for not doing that. Where Tiger Ray says, if we need voter ID, then why do all the Republicans who run the elections keep saying there's no voter fraud? I don't know. The interesting thing about our elections is that if there is voter fraud, because of how we've set it up, it's really, really, really difficult to prosecute. You need an actual confession, and even that might not be enough because there's no way to verify what someone did. Like, how do we build up a beyond the reasonable doubt case against someone when you can't pick up their ballot? Right? Like, you don't know what ballot it is. There's hundreds to thousands of ballots in any batch. How do you prosecute someone who sent in multiple? How do you find out? How do you even know? Okay. Heavy Fisted says, it's a sad state when every single ex-military person I know brings up Dems and the domestic enemy part of the oath of enlistment in our conversations about the current political climate. Yeah, that's not a good thing. Okay. So let's talk about this. No. The representatives are representatives of the people. The people are represented by a representative. Okay? So Congress limiting the amount of money that people can send to someone who's supposed to represent them is disgusting. There's no other way to say it. Especially federal Congress. Them limiting the amount of money that you can spend to elect someone to represent you in Washington is insane. On its face, it's crazy that Washington should have any say in who you send to it to advocate for you, right? It's almost like Washington serves Washington by limiting the power that you have, the say that you have over your elected representative. It's scary for the Senate as well, because senators originally were supposed to represent the state government. Your House of Representatives was your guy that you go talk to. The Senate, senator was who the state government talked to go represent them. That changed. I think that was Andrew Jackson, popular election of senators. But here's the thing. Even if we take that and we say, okay, our state government doesn't need representatives. Notice that since we changed that whole like Senate represents the state thing, how little state power there actually is anymore. Like that just went right out the window, didn't it? Just decreased and decreased and decreased. Till now, states have plenary authority over like family law and nothing else. And even that's being chipped away day by day by the feds. But just about everything is federal now. Because we have that whole federalist system, and it's been eroded ever since the popular election of senators. I don't know why. I don't know why taking away the advocates for certain entities would reduce the power of those entities. That's weird. But, you know, there we go. There we go. So, okay. So no, federal Congress shouldn't have any say over it. State Congress should only maybe have a say in the Senate election. Now, interestingly, your state Congress should have a say in the presidential election because of how presidential elections are structured. Presidential elections are not democratic affairs. They never were intended to be. They're elected by an electoral college made up of delegates. Delegates who would be respected, popular people before. I mean, not anymore. And also, at the time of the founding, white landowning men. Now, I'm not saying that white landowning men are the only people who should have any say in government, but there is a reason that the founders chose a small group of people to have say in the representative government. Whatever that reason was, I'll tell you what reason it wasn't. It wasn't democracy. It certainly wasn't a democratic agenda. That wasn't the point of our government's electoral system. That umbrella guy says, hey there. Hey, Tug, what's up, buddy? We need to do another show sometime. All right. But none of this was planned. We're in, they're appealing back to 202 centuries of jurisprudence, ignoring that Abraham Lincoln was elected by a newspaper, funding his entire election. That's fine. That was less than 2 centuries ago, you idiots. Campaign finance reform was not, like, campaign finance limits were not part of the founding of the government. All of the initial congressmen and representatives pretty much were extremely wealthy or influential people. I mean, the founders themselves were all pretty, oh my goodness, think about it. Think about who you've got. Washington, Jefferson, Madison, owning huge plots, huge plantations and slaves. Hamilton wasn't rich. He also wasn't president or representative or a senator. He was just smart. Like, who was elected early? Rich white men. That's honestly, like, you can debate the wisdom of it all you want, but who founded the country and who initially had all of the political authority were rich white men. Okay? Now, should that be tweaked for modern times? Yeah, it should. But that doesn't necessarily mean we jump into democracy, which is insane. Democracies fail, typically, because direct democracy is crazy. Democratic representation in republics has worked for us, but the idea that everyone is entitled to this thing isn't I don't know where they're getting it. It's not a thing that exists. Okay. Don't mind me, says Molly New did a Washington expose that was quite surprising. It's great. Again, even if you love Washington, go watch it and just get the counter narrative because it's a good one. All right, so let's see their explanation. Sorry. Now, listen to the link. This is a constitutional amendment, guys. May regulate and set reasonable limits on the raising and spending of money by candidates and others to influence elections. What limp-wristed language is this? What's a reasonable limit? Put it in the amendment. Maybe. You're just setting up centuries of litigation. Okay. Explanation. A bare majority of the Supreme Court has ruled that state and federal laws limiting money in politics are only legitimate insofar as they... Listen to how dumb the Supreme Court is here. The state and federal laws limiting money in politics are only legitimate insofar as they prevent quid pro quo, bribery-style corruption between candidates and donors. Yes! Yes! Prevent bribery-style corruption. That's legitimate. A legitimate function of protecting the populace is to prevent literal bribery. By the way, when a politician gets bribed, throw him in prison and don't let him out. How's that one? We know all about all this dark money coming in. All these congressmen talking about dark money and corrupting money in politics. Name someone then. Start naming names. Let's start naming names on the corrupt, dark money in politics. What politicians are receiving it? Death penalty. Sic semper tyrannis. Death penalty to politicians who accept bribes. Name names. Cowards. Where are you? Where are you? You know who's doing it. You never disclose it to the American people. You just have vague accusations, right? Is it you? Get guillotined. Get guillotined. Darth Bobcat says, so you're saying we need our senators to own slaves? I don't think that was my point. Okay. In 2010, the court held in Citizens United versus FEC that unlimited corporate spending in elections is incapable of corrupting the democratic process. No, they actually didn't rule that at all. I don't think. Let's see. Let's see if that's in the document. FEC. Capable. Incapable isn't in the Citizens United decision, oddly enough. So I guess they didn't rule that way, did they? In 2014, the McCutcheon versus FEC ruling struck down limits on how much one person can donate in any given election cycle. Listen to the wording of this. I'll help you with this case in a second. And asserted that donors have a right to buy unlimited influence in elections. Literally, no, they didn't. They didn't. See, McCutcheon versus FEC was this weird ruling where the FEC decided they could limit the total amount someone spent in an election cycle. Not on one candidate, the total amount they could spend at all. McCutcheon supported 18 different congressmen and committees. He wanted to support 12 more. Couldn't do it. Campaign limit said, you can only have this much speech, not this much speech. Never mind the fact that he was individually limited in each of those contributions by an amount. He was also limited by a ceiling aggregate amount. So of course that's unconstitutional. Look, I've got a bunch of different politicians and committees that support what I want to do. I'm going to donate to all of them. Oh, sorry, sir. You can't do that. Well, look, I'm within the limits for each one. No. Too much of your money going up. Too much speech for you. Go to the back of the bus. Go to the back of the bus. Good job lying about what McCutcheon versus FEC says. Frickin' cowards. Section 1 restores constitutional legitimacy to campaign finance laws. They weren't constitutionally legitimate. Because the Supreme Court had not ruled on them yet, they weren't constitutionally legitimate. When the Supreme Court ruled on them, they were found to be illegitimate. More illegitimate than the Miley Cyrus babies running around. Darth Bobcat says, sorry, I was listening with NPC ears. Okay. By giving the people, a right to limit the broader corrupting influence of money in elections. It's not the people doing it, though. We don't have a direct democracy on legislation. Here's the problem. I've said, I'm going to get to this, and I think this is the best time. What motivation does someone in power have in limiting the amount of money coming into an election? There's one correct answer, and it's not noble altruism. It's the fact that it prevents their opponents from raising money and competing. Period. Nothing else. Campaign finance reform was McCain and Feingold. What more do you need to know than two power-hungry grab hands cementing their own power and staying in Congress long past their expiration date? Thanks, dead corpse John McCain, for screwing us over instead of dying a lot earlier, you sack of garbage. Bury yourself alive next time if you won't die in time. Please, save us all the trouble, you giant-headed, disgusting, cancer-riddled monster. No one wanted you around, but no one could compete because you've got 20 years of raising money year over year and not spending all of it, while the next guy competing against you during your 5 years of non-competition but still raising maximum donations from those donors who are evil. You had 5 years of that, and the next guy has 1 year to compete. 1 year versus 5. Of course they want to limit campaign contributions in an election cycle. It cements them in Congress. That's the only way you get a 9% approval rating and a 90% re-election rating. We've got literal corpses running Congress. They should be gone. They should be out. You can't get them out. You've got Hank Johnson thinking Guam will capsize from landing Marines on it. The man is a moron, senile, and should go. He should be in a home. He should maybe be fed by a tube. You can't vote him out. You can't vote these people. They have to choose to retire. It also overturns the Supreme Court's decision in Buckley versus Vallejo, which held that spending an election separate from candidates' campaigns is a form of speech. It is. It is. It is. It's literally you're spending money to create speech. Like, let's be real about what the spending is. The spending is me buying time on a network to sell my message, to put my speech in front of more people. It's the same speech, and anyone can do it. If you think communism is great and will save us all, comrade, raise money from like-minded people to put your ad on Toonami or whatever it is, and then take over in 10 years when your audience reaches 18. Put it in Sesame Street. Buy ads on public access. Wait, public access. Communism. You don't need to buy ads on communist public access, comrade. They're running it for you. Buy ads somewhere else. It establishes a clear government interest in limiting election spending by individuals and other moneyed special interests. Section 2. Good night, Paul Goodin. Congress and the states shall have power to implement and enforce this article by appropriate legislation. And listen to this. And may distinguish between natural persons and corporations or other artificial entities created by law. Be careful what you wish for there. What's a natural person? There's no legal definition of a natural person. So what's an artificial entity created by law? An unnatural person? An illegal alien? A legal alien? What is that? Natural born citizens? We have different opinions on these words. We being the people. Remember the people that you're purporting to represent. Including by prohibiting such entities from spending money to influence elections. Speech for me, not for thee. Why do you get to choose who gets to spend money? Why do you get to choose that? Alex Martin, no, we're not talking about the amendment that would end the Electoral College. We're not there yet. Explanation. Here we go. This ought to be good. This section restores authority to Congress and the states to enact campaign finance laws and adopt implementing regulations. They already can enact campaign finance laws and adopt implementing regulations. However, since those are a prior restraint on the most protected speech there is, which is political speech, since they're a prior restraint on political speech, they're subject to strict scrutiny, which means there has to be a compelling government interest, and just limiting money arbitrarily isn't a compelling government interest. And even if it was, it has to be narrowly tailored to achieve the result without infringing on other rights, which means there's no possible way for you to draft legislation that would put out corrupting money in politics, because you can't determine what even is corrupting money in politics, because it's different in California than it is in Iowa or Wyoming. It takes a lot more money to put an ad in the LA market than it does in Montana or Alaska. And the direct influential power of a Wyoming, Montana, or Alaska voter is leagues higher than the individual in California. But it costs disproportionately more to influence them. So how do you set the limit? Because if you set the limit at $10,000, we know it's going to be less than that. But if you set it at $10,000, $10,000 will buy a lot of flyers in Wyoming. $10,000 won't fill a neighborhood in Los Angeles. Good night, Notorious Moon Man. The last chat you'll be coherent for. Later, buddy. Have a good night. Okay. It specifically overturned Citizens United by clarifying that the elected representatives of the American people, for whom our democracy was founded, are able to set federal and state limits on election spending by artificial entities, such as for-profit corporations. That's just a group of people. Unions, oh yeah, they're definitely going to limit union spending. Union spending hasn't been limited ever. While all the other spending was, you guys left out unions. And you still do. You only put this in there because this is a bipartisan press release, you giant flaming cucks. And other organizations different from those that apply to individuals. Why? Again, what rationale do you have? The fact that two people come together with a common belief doesn't make them different than one. Lydia Schwitz says, Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. Ha-ha! Not drunk enough. Mr. Snuffle says, isn't setting limits per person kind of weird? Isn't that cementing the power of popular candidates? Yes, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. This section does not change the status of existing constitutional law with respect to corporations for other purposes outside of the electoral context. Well, what is the electoral context? What is it? When PepsiCo runs an ad about clean air, for example, or not polluting the oceans, that's political. They're doing it for virtue signal points and to try and sleep with vegans. Because Pepsi wants to sleep with Representative Douche. We get it. They want to put their bottles in all of his fun holes. Okay? Great. That's fine. But that's political speech. What do we do? That because it's not in the electoral context? So are you saying it has to be limited only to endorsing a specific candidate? Because we're already away from that in a lot of ads. Yet you still call that dark money in politics. Darth Bobcat says, not drunk enough? You'll drink to that. All right. Section 3. Nothing in this article shall be construed to grant Congress or the states the power to abridge the freedom of the press. Oh! Okay. So the press gets a free pass to spend billions on elections. Oh. I'm sorry. I thought we were empowering the people, not a concentrated group of like-thinking morons with a bunch of money. I was wrong, though. We're going to specifically limit the amount of money that individuals can contribute, but we're not going to limit the amount of press coverage, favorable or unfavorable, that can apply to a certain candidate. Are we? Are we? Huh. Gosh, it just seems to all fall into the expected pattern of Kukistan. I don't have anything. I can't do it. Don't mind me, but only the legitimate press. Clearly not YouTubers. Right. We're all fake news. We don't have press credentials. We don't have the trust of the American people. Never mind that the press doesn't either. A scanner Daphne says Stalin-esque power grab right there. Absolutely. The useful idiots are out in mass. Out in mass. Citable Boy says, I really liked Nick until I found out he was a statist. Sad. You know me. You know me. Explanation. This section ensures that limits on campaign spending and contributions will not restrict legitimate press functions, including reporting on elections and government. I'm sorry, but the scrotal taint licking that happens in the press is not reporting anymore. And it hasn't been for 80 years. Publishing opinions and editorials, they get to have opinions. Mind you, people who distribute to every home in America get to have opinions, but you can't even buy it. CNN can run an opinion piece or an editorial on why President Trump should be unelected and why they love seeing Hillary Clinton naked because she's really rocking it, healthy at any weight, hashtag, or whatever. They can run that all day, but you can't pay CNN to run the same ad. Can't do it. Hashtag start your own media outlet. Oh, but when you do start your own media outlet, be careful, because you might get InfoWars'd off the internet, right? Like, or Jihad watched off the internet. You start your own media outlet, but be careful what you say, because if you say the wrong thing, we won't let you collect money. You can't have your speech. A scanner daftly says legitimate press, meaning the approved message. All right. What is wrong with Citizens United decision? I don't know. Why don't you tell us, people with no corrupting money influence in your politics? The Supreme Court's 5-4 ruling in Citizens United versus FEC handed corporations and other artificial entities a First Amendment right to spend unlimited sums of money influencing our elections. Yes! Yes, it did! And it's the best decision they could have made other than to strike down campaign limits entirely. Entirely. I should be able to walk up to a congressman and write him a check for $12 trillion and pray that he doesn't try to cash it or whatever. Absolutely, I should be able to do that. Because if I'm willing to put all of my money into one politician, then I should be able to. How dare you suggest anything otherwise? You don't own me. And you never should. And the fact that we've bought into this idea that I can't take my money and give it to someone else who I believe in is ridiculous. And any of you who have done that, don't shame yourselves. Don't shame yourselves. You've been fighting a propaganda machine that is decades old. Literal decades. You've been fighting a propaganda machine that's been force-feeding this garbage into your mouth your entire life. You should be able to take any amount of money you can raise and give it to whoever you want. And why in God's name does government have anything to do with who I give my money to? Think about it. Extract politics for just a second on a side rant. If I want to give you $50,000, the government taxes me on it. What on earth are we doing? What on earth have we done that we have surrendered the right to give our labor to someone else, to a bunch of weasels in Washington who can't even pass a budget? What are we thinking? They can't pass their own budget, but they're going to tell you how to spend your money. And we buy into this. You have drones running around saying, yeah, we want to get money out of politics. No, put money in politics, because money is what matters to everybody. Everybody. Put money in there. And if having a bunch of money from anonymous donors is a problem, then guess what? Someone can say, hey, this guy's got a bunch of money from anonymous donors. He's bought and paid for, and advocate against him that way. Yeah, there's a ladybug on my... I didn't even know ladybugs were still alive. Ladybug running around. I can't take it. Fine. It's so hot in here. It gets hot in the vault, y'all. Tofu 6465, no. If we don't have limits, it does not mean that those have more money, have more free speech. Everybody, because if you have an idea, this is the American dream over and over and over again. If you have an idea, if you have the intellect, if you have the will, if you have the charm, if you have the lies, you can divorce people from their money. Our entire country has been built by divorcing people from their labor, from the product of their labor. You have the right political answer. All you have to do is get someone to agree with you, and they will fund it. And if two people can't fund it, get a third. The third person can't fund it, get a fourth. This is how we do it. This is why crowdfunding works. Crowdfunding literally works on this principle. If you come from Comicsgate, you know this. You know this. Diversity in Comics said, I don't like what's happening. I'm criticizing what's happening. It's not enough. They say I can't make my own thing. I'm going to make my own thing. Will you support me? Boom. $400,000. More than any individual book in the main industry. Right? Like just thrown at him. You're like, yes, we believe. We believe. Thank you. Someone has my voice. And people are willing to donate lots. Some people are donating little. Some people are donating lots. But you already don't have free speech. You don't have more free speech. Because the RNC and the DNC are freezing everyone else out with contribution limits, but they have none. They're not, like, the RNC is not a political candidate. It's not a person. It's literally a corporation. The Republican National Convention, the Democratic National Convention are corporations. They're entities. They are artificial entities. And they have unlimited authority to spend how they want on what candidate they want. If the RNC and the DNC were held to any other standard, the standards that they impose on you and me, they would have a maximum limit of something like $5,400 when they combine their two contributions. That's it. The RNC could get $5,400 to Donald Trump, DNC $5,400 to Hillary Clinton. Instead, $1 billion. $1 billion. You think you have less free speech because a corporation runs an ad? You think you have the ability? Bernie Sanders thought he had the ability. Bernie Sanders thought that with enough groundswell support, he could overcome the single most profitable lobbying firm in existence, the DNC. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Why? Why do you think they wanted to control the flow of money? What if you outspent the DNC? What if Bill Gates outspent the RNC? What if Tim Cook sold some slaves and outspent the RNC? What if Elon Musk outspent the DNC? What would they do? James Jones, in practical terms, though, what would prevent multinational corporations from, say, China buying politicians? Kill the politicians. Death penalty. Why do we excuse the politicians who accept the bribes? Why is it the corporation's fault? Why is it your fault? Why is it my fault? Are we kidding here? Who has the vote in Congress? Why is it our fault that they get bought? Behead them. I don't care. Mail them to Iran. Mail them to Iran with a rainbow flag wrapped around them. They throw them off a building. Solve the problem. The problem isn't the corporation. The problem is the bribe-e. It's always the bribe-e who takes the money and does the thing. We always complain about the briber. It's the bribe-e. Why is this hard? I don't get it. How have we been so conditioned into this? Ah! Of course it's the bribee who does the bad thing. It's not the guy offering the judge $10,000 to make him not guilty who's wrong. It's the judge who takes it. Where's the power? The power's already in Congress. If money buys influence, who's got the power to sell? Who's got the influence to sell? Kill the seller. We've got fun ways to execute that we haven't tried in a long time. Firing squads, gas chambers, drawing and quartering, keel haul them. Man, aircraft carriers are huge. Keel haul the first congressman to take a bribe from an aircraft carrier. Who's going to write the laws to kill people that write those laws? I don't know, have a constitutional convention. The police answer to the judge. I'm a defense attorney, buddy, I know. A scanner dabbly says, Nick, have you seen Scanners? Deep breaths. I'm just like I don't get it. I don't get it. These are problems. Okay, here you go. If you don't want the laws to do it, the next politician who gets bribed, show up with pitchforks and stab him. There you go. How's that? What do you want? We shot people over regulating tea. They had a tax on tea. We killed thousands of people because they had a tax on tea. What are we worried about? What are we worried about? Are you worried that maybe they'll take our guns away? You know why they left us guns, right? You think concentrating the power into two specific entities exempted from all other law to funnel money in because they hold literally all of the influence over the politicians? Like, honestly, buddy, take the Koch brothers, take the unions, doesn't matter. RNC and the DNC, who gets the votes out in Congress? I'm not talking about the popular vote. I'm talking about the votes on bills. Where do you go when you can't get your vote passed? The RNC. Why? Won't fund your re-election. Won't fund your campaign. Get re-elected unless you vote yes. We're all worried about money in politics. And here we are enabling two entities to control all of the money in politics. All of it. Talk to me when we defund the RNC and defund the DNC. Until then, you don't have free speech, and limiting someone else's speech certainly doesn't give you more. It gives all of us less. All of us less. All right. Let's see. Okay. The majority further held that all state and federal laws limiting money in politics were only legitimate insofar as they prevented quid pro quo, bribery-style corruption, or the appearance of such corruption between candidates and donors. This decision thus cast aside decades, notice it's not 2 centuries now, it's decades, of decisions that recognize the value of limiting the influence of money in politics. Before Citizens United, for a period of 20 years, corporations could only spend money in elections through political action committees, funded by their employees and disclosed to the public. Now, after Citizens United and subsequent applications of its holding, corporations, individuals, unions, and other entities can dump unlimited money into our election through these newfound super PACs that account for much of the explosion in outside election spending since 2010. Again, on balance, you're competing your dollars with the DNC or the RNC. Pick your poison. Reducing the amount that every individual can spend reduces the aggregate spending of their competition. Think about, just from a purely practical standpoint, stop buying in to the rhetoric and think about it for a second. If you're CNN and you could limit the amount of money every other person could spend on creating news. Think about this. CNN can spend $10 billion on news a year. CNN has the power, in this scenario, to limit every other news outlet to an expenditure of $2,400 a year. They can spend $10 billion. Well, we'll make the math consistent. $24,000 a year. Every news outlet can spend $24,000 a year. CNN can spend $10 billion. Every other news outlet can only take in $2,400 a year from every person who watches. CNN can take in unlimited money. That's the RNC and the DNC. That's politicians versus you. Now, are you mad because your news channel can only spend, let's see, 24,000 was the limit? Say you can only spend 5, but another news channel can spend $1 million. Now they're limited to 24,000. You can still only spend 5 because that's all you can afford. Did you increase your speech, decrease their speech? Or, counterpoint, did you decrease all of your speech? Because that's what we're doing with this garbage. We're allowing a couple people, a couple groups with very questionable leadership to control all of the funding. We're saying, whoa, 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 individuals shouldn't be able to do this. Only these groups. Only these 2 groups. Oh, and by the way, ask those third-party candidates how it's going. Remember when you could get into the debates with a 5% vote? Ross Perot remembers when, as an independent, you could run with 5% of the electorate. You could then get into the national debates. And then once that happened, what did the RNC and the DNC do? They privately contracted with all the news stations to make it 10%. And we haven't hit 10% since, have we? Almost like 2 entities control all of the political power in the nation and really want it to stay that way. And through effective propaganda have convinced you out there and me that money in politics would be corrupting, despite the fact that they're all fueled by massive amounts of money. Donut Swan says, just got here, not sure what's going on. Sounds like regulatory capture, but one thing is clear. The good counselor is fiery. Ash on Comics. Catch you later, buddy. Take a break. We'll take a break from the liquor and read. Okay. What about dark money? Again, look at all these people who hate African Americans. Thanks to Citizens United, corporations are now allowed to tap into their profits. Oh, it wouldn't want anybody making profit here. Tap into their profits to advocate for or against candidates of their choosing. No, don't let them tap into their profits. Yet many corporations and their executives have taken advantage of other loopholes to hide their spending from the public. Most of these groups are classified as 501c4 social welfare groups. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. American Promise. Where are we? Wasn't that a 501c4? See. American Promise. Doesn't seem to say. It's almost like their organizational structure is not open. Who else did we have? Who else? Free Speech for Free People was that's either a 501c3 or 501c4. Let's see. The American Way Foundation. Oh wait, no. People for the American Way. That's a 501c3 or 501c4. One of them was, oh yeah, Common Cause, a 501c4. Man, those shady 501c4s, right? Oh, Bagel Goose says, why is it so hard? I don't get it. Me during my first erection. And do not have to disclose their donors. How dare they? As a result, special interests have set up elaborate webs of nonprofit groups that can funnel millions either directly into our elections or into closely aligned super PACs. From 2010 to 2016, these unaccountable groups have spent over $800 million in our elections with no way for the American people to know where it came from or who paid for the attack ads overtaking their televisions. So what? Who paid for the television shows? Who paid for the episodes of Bones that I had to watch and sit there and be politically proselytized to? Who paid for that? I have no idea and no way to know. I guess I could see the executive producer credit, but I don't know which executive producer paid for the show and which one paid for the overt political messaging. Who paid for the West Wing? Who paid for the political propaganda in the West Wing? Who paid Alan Sorkin to write that? Who paid for Alec Baldwin's character in 30 Rock to satirize a Republican donor, a wealthy Republican donor? Who came up with that idea? Who paid for it? Not transparent how much they paid, is it? Isn't spending money in elections a form of free speech? Here we go. Here we go. They're going to use the lawyer technique of setting up the question and making it seem ridiculous. Why shouldn't corporations and billionaires, not just billionaires, be able to spend unlimited amounts of money to influence our elections? If rulings like, notice they're not answering the question, are they? The questions are rhetorical. That's your first clue that this is garbage. If rulings like Citizens United strengthen the First Amendment, now they're going to answer it with a Socratic question for you to educate you. They're smart. They're smarter than you. Strengthen the First Amendment, then our government would be more and not less responsive to the American people. Problem, assumpsit, the government is not responsive to the American people. Rather than it's not responsive to what you want. There's a huge difference there. I'd say there's a bunch of people right now who think Donald Trump is responsive to the American people and that the American Congress is not. Because there's a whole bunch of people who elected a weird Frito-Lay to build a wall. And that wall can't be built because Congress so opposes it that they shut down the government. There you go. What will of the people isn't being served? It's the will that they want. This is how they always do. Well, look at them not responding to the will of the American people. And you're sitting here thinking, actually, gas is cheap. Stocks are going up. Housing market's okay. Unemployment's good. What do I want them to do? Crime is down. Police violence is down. Black people are in Congress. Mexicans can buy a sandwich. What do I want them to do? What will isn't being served? No, it's specific political interests littered all over this stupid amendment who are doing this. Who want climate change reform. Who want healthcare reform. Who have overt political interests. If you have the temerity to just look. Just look. And you'll find it. And here they are pretending that they're not that guy. And they are. Instead, Congress has become less responsive to the priorities of the American people. But I thought a new Congress was just elected that's really exciting. And unable to pass laws supported by the overwhelming majority of voters. Why can't they vote you out then? from closing loopholes for companies that ship jobs overseas. What loophole is that? What loophole is there for a company that shifts jobs overseas? What loophole is it? You mean we don't tax foreign revenue until you bring it into the United States, and then we tax it more than anywhere else in the world would? That one, that foreign loophole? Raising the minimum wage. It always comes down to socialism. Every single time with someone who's trying to sell you on preventing someone else from spending money, because who on earth, like, they're socialists, y'all. There's no way around it. They're socialists, communists. You know what socialists and commies have in common? The state has its penis all the way on their uvula and their epiglottis, if Lady Rekieta is still watching. On both the uvula and the epiglottis. It's all the way back in the mouth, right? Of every communist and socialist, they have the state penis thrust all the way in. Now, why on earth would the government want to stop private citizens from enacting their free speech? Why? What motivation could they possibly have? Statism, statism, statism. Call up Canada. I'm buying Chinooks. We're gonna toss the commies out. Right into the sea. Get them gone. I can't believe this. It always comes back, and they just tell you if you read it. They're communists, y'all. They just want to limit your speech so that they have the monopoly. I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough. And people are still not going to believe me, and it makes me want to drink a bunch of antifreeze or something. Listen, here it is. Sensible limits. What's sensible to you is not sensible to me. It's not sensible to me. Because I might have more money than you. And if I have more money than you, or less, sensible is different. Sensible limits on spending in our elections do not disenfranchise anyone. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Let's say, let me put this hypothetical to you. You're the one guy who has figured out a smart political idea. The one guy who figured it out. Trust me. A sensible limit on spending in elections does limit your free speech, because the only way that you can get that message out is money or elbow grease, which is just money. You're either pounding sand, pounding pavement, knocking on doors, going door to door like a dope. Hey, I'm supporting this thing that I want to get on a ballot. Will you please sign my petition so we can get a ballot measure to vote on this thing? And then some guy goes, oh, wow, that's amazing. I wish you could talk to more people. Yeah, me too, but I can't spend because we have sensible limits. And even though I came up with a solution, and would love to get some funding and support for it, I can't because we have sensible limits. Yes, it does disenfranchise someone. It just disenfranchises the people that you don't like. But it elevates the First Amendment rights of everyone to be heard in our democratic process. Yes, when literally any moron, and by the way, every moron, is on Twitter and Facebook spewing the most idiotic opinions you can possibly find constantly, and they get retweeted ad nauseum. Ad nauseum. The dumbest takes in the world get the most exposure. But no, they just can't seem to get their message out. They just can't seem to do it, even though they're massive companies that have provided a platform where you can talk to billions of people with the press of the carriage return. Philip Stahl just tuned in. Love hearing Mr. Racket's angry F commies. Yeah, what's up? What's up, buddy? When moneyed special interests can buy unlimited influence on our elections, the democratic principle of one voice, one vote is degraded. Hey, guess what? that democratic principle of one voice, one vote is an illegal alien. Build the wall, throw it over it. It doesn't exist. We have a representative republic. We do not have one voice, one vote, because baked right into it, baby, is a difference in power between a dummy in Wyoming and a dummy in San Francisco. We have completely different power in every single vote because we don't have democracy, and democracy is a disaster, and we shouldn't have it. We shouldn't have it. Okay. The concept of political equality, the idea in which every American is equal in their right to vote regardless of their background or wealth. Wait a minute. Has guided our democracy throughout history. Whoa! Really? Has it? Has it? Ask the blacks. Ask anyone who paid a poll tax. Ask women. Ask women. Every American is equal in their right to vote regardless of their background of wealth or wealth has guided our democracy throughout history. Why do we have a 19th Amendment? Why do we have a 15th Amendment? I thought if it's guided us throughout history, why did it take 100 years for black men to get to vote and another 70 for women? What on earth are you talking about? As we expanded the right to vote, it's guided us throughout history as we changed it from white landowners to everybody. In a process that took approximately 160 years, we changed it from white landowners to everybody. But it guided us the whole way. No, it didn't. No, it did not at all. Banned poll taxes. That's 200 years. 200 years to ban poll taxes. Outlawed direct corporate giving to candidates. That's 240 years. And fought government corruption. Something you've never, ever done. Never, ever have you fought government corruption. And this doesn't fight it. It's an ad. It's an ad. It's an ad. It's an ad. You can be against government corruption. You can be against the dark influence of money in politics. You can be against all of that. Being for this amendment is terrible. Terrible. None of this stuff curtails the problems that they're talking about. It only channels it into two entities with permission to violate the law. Free speech comes at too high a price when 32 mega rich individuals can spend $9 million each and easily outspend the $310 million donated by millions of ordinary Americans to each of the presidential campaigns in 2012. Yes. Yeah. Those, let's see. One super PAC, one hypothetical super PAC of 32 mega rich individuals giving $9 million each because they believe so strongly in something that they'll put $9 million each. One hypothetical super PAC or one DNC. Pick who wins. Who wins? The DNC every single time. Outspend them 10 to 1. The DNC wins every time. Carrie Dalton says, the idiots can't even do math. 310 million is greater than 32 times 9, which is 284 million. No, that can't be right. That can't be 284 million because 9 times 2 is 18. Got to end in an 8. 3 times 9 is 27. It's 280, 8 million, I think. But still, your point stands. Landana May. Says we need a biggest problem anime adaptation. Vote up. Good. Philip Stahl. What's good for New York isn't necessarily good for North Dakota. I would say it's necessarily bad for North Dakota. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay. Each of the presidential election cycles since Citizens United broke spending records. It's almost like inflation is a thing and the economy has been recovering since 2008. So yes, the economy is growing. It's bigger than it's ever been. Unemployment has been going down barely under Obama, better under Trump. Since 2008, yes, spending in elections is necessarily going to increase year over year. Oh my God, if we had a giant recession, maybe it wouldn't increase. But with the stock market on this trajectory, yes, spending on fat like election campaign contributions are definitely going to increase in the aggregate. Of course. Of course. Oh my. 6.3 billion in 2012, 6.9 billion in 2016. That's not even that much. That's not even that big of an increase. 300 million? In 2018, we saw the most expensive midterms in history coming in at 5.2 billion, a 35% increase. Okay, great, good. More people are dumping their money into their speech to elect people for things they care about to lord over us like a bunch of elitist scumbags. Good, great, yes, put more care into the election process. Aggregate spending increases are good. If the country can afford it, do it. Our Constitution created a representative democracy. No, it didn't. A representative republic. Ask the people who made it. Members of Congress were meant to go to Washington to represent the constituents of their district or state. That's republicanism, not democracy. Not those who threatened to spend money against him if they did not vote a certain way. Jump off a bridge. There have been many different amendment proposals. Why is this the right one? Well, because we're supporting it and we have these smart groups of lobbyists to tell us so. Amending the Constitution is a serious undertaking. While several amendments were introduced in Congress, the Democracy for All Amendment was crafted to achieve consensus. Top constitutional experts, members of the House and Senate, and leaders of dozens upon dozens of public interest groups helped develop a proposal that restores legitimacy to campaign finance laws in a straightforward way. Yeah, it does. This amendment clearly conveys, got value statements, y'all. Listen to the value statements. It was crafted to achieve consensus. Top experts. We have authority. We have consensus. We have authority. Members of the House and Senate automatically disqualifies it in my book. Never have I seen a bigger collection of morons than the House and Senate. And the leaders of dozens upon dozens of public interest groups. Replace public with special, and they're going to tell you that that's who they're against, but that's who they are. Help develop a proposal that restores legitimacy. This is a value statement. If you guys have not been salesmen in your life, let me give you a crash course in sales. Here's how you sell something. It's not through features, not through facts, it's not through any of that. That might be how you buy something, but how the average dummy walking into your store buys something is on benefit value statements. Saves you time, saves you money. This has consensus. This has authority. This is the right thing to do because it restores legitimacy. How does it restore legitimacy? They can't really tell you that stuff. That'll take a little time. Just know that it does this thing. It increases your voice. Gives you power. Empowers the people. Disenfranchises the evil people. Right? all value statements. It's all a sales pitch, and I hate it. This amendment, it clearly conveys, it's clear, it's simple to understand, easy even for you. We've got top constitutional scholars. We've got top men on this so that you don't need to worry about it. A scanner daftly says, sell the sizzle, not the steak. Yeah, serve it on a hot plate. Serve your steak on a hot plate. Never mind the fact that you want that steak to rest without like a heated bottom. Serve it on a sizzling hot plate so that it's sizzling when it gets there. I mean, never mind that it's still cooking the juices and they're not evenly distributing through the meat and you're overcooking the bottom of the steak. Put it there because people smell it, hear it, sound great. Okay. Clearly conveys that Americans have a legitimate interest in passing laws. Americans or Congress that limit the influence of money in politics and protect the integrity of our democracy. One, protecting integrity. Protecting integrity is another value statement. They haven't laid out how it protects integrity. Because the democratic process is a vote. How does money to a politician to corrupt the politician corrupt the vote? It doesn't. It also makes clear that corporations and other artificial entities are subject to the democratically enacted campaign finance laws of the American people. Democratically enacted, I don't want it. Because I've met people and they're dumb. I don't want it. You've met people and people are stupid. You can meet a bunch of persons and persons can be smart. But you know when you meet people, you hate them, right? You hate them. Because people are stupid. Individuals can be smart. People are terrible at this stuff. What about other corporate constitutional rights? Here we go. Will unions get special treatment? Of course. Yes. Yes, they will. The Democracy for All Amendment will allow state and federal lawmakers to pass laws that restrict or eliminate spending in our elections by all forms of private artificial entities. Reminder, when they could do this before, they didn't do it to unions. Does that answer your question? You've got a Democrat Congress. Are they going to pass a law to limit union spending? No. 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 Effing no. Of course they're not. By all forms of private artificial entities, including corporations, nonprofits, unions, and more. How are you going to do that? Like your language in your document doesn't actually necessarily say that. It might allow for it, but they don't have to, do they? It would not change other Supreme Court interpretations regarding corporate rights in other areas of the law. Not answering the question. What about unions? When are you going to limit the union power? Unions have power now. And if you did this tomorrow, unions would still have power tomorrow. And they'd still be allowed to buy the influence. How long will amending the Constitution take? Infinity, get killed. That's the answer. Infinity, go die in whatever way makes you happy. Get chased by naked women and run off a cliff like in Monty Python? I don't care. Just go away. Just go away. Amending the Constitution is no easy feat and takes years of organizing and advocacy across the country. The framers of the Constitution designed the amendment process to be difficult so that the people invoked it only when our democracy was truly under threat. Yeah, after that first constitutional convention. What did you give us? A republic. If you can keep it. A republic. They didn't give us a democracy. And you communists have been trying to get us there ever since. Article 5 of the Constitution requires both the House of Representatives and the Senate to propose a constitutional amendment with a 2/3 vote of support. The amendment would then be referred to the states for ratification. The amendment will officially become part of the Constitution once 3/4 of the states have ratified the amendment through their legislatures or conventions. Although this is a high bar, we believe that allowing limitless spending in our elections is a serious threat to our democracy and our government institutions. Credible influence of money in politics is a threat to every issue debated within Congress and undermines the ability of the American people to communicate their priorities to their elected representatives. Does it, though? Or does the limit on the number of representatives communicate that? Or how about the amount of money that we pay representatives? What about that one? The incentive to remain a representative past your expiration date because you get government benefits and a massive paycheck? None of that's influential, though, right? The money that the government pays to representatives, that's not influential. It's only other money. It's always someone else's money that's influential. It's always someone else's money that's corrupting. It's never your money that is, is it? Never yours, right? Always the other guy. Harry Dalton. Go look at any annual list of contributors, and unions are always at the top of the list, and 98% plus go to Democrats. And public unions should either be outlawed or restricted to work rights, nothing on pay. Yep. Guys, here's their press release for the background. I don't know where the Fox thing is. Can I go through this document real quick? I'm literally getting worn out from the anger. Holy cats. Gaudius Maximus says Nick's rage is only ever equal to the level of stupidity he faces. A Scanner Daffley. Russell Greer stream on Monday. On Monday. Monday, I believe I've confirmed this with Sriracha. I think so. If not, Sriracha, I apologize profusely for making it seem like you're the one who's not there on Monday. But Monday, I believe, is the date that we are doing the Russell Greer stream. I know it's not a Wednesday, but holidays and travel have made that impossible, and we want to get it to you as soon as possible. Monday is the first date. Okay. Beard itches. You know you're angry when the beard itches. They say grassroots advocacy organizations to hide that they're a special interest group. It's big money out of politics, not their money out of politics. I don't think I can read this. I don't think I can read. It's mostly the same. Oh. With elected officials spending more and more of their time raising millions of dollars to defend themselves from multi-million-dollar smear campaigns from outside groups. Oh, there's some more of that motivation, right? Hey, guys, you don't have to campaign as hard against the smear campaigns from outside groups, otherwise known as your competition. It's right in the document. You want to reduce the amount of time that they're campaigning? Term limits. Get them out. Get out. 3 terms in the House, 2 terms in the Senate, Maximum. Maybe 1 term in the Senate, 2 terms in the House. Or how about you get 4 terms in the House and at the end you kill yourself? How's that? Be willing to die for that extra term. Maybe that's the proposal. I don't know. Maybe after your 2 terms in the Senate, you go to Myanmar and do landmine testings. I don't know. What is it? Get them out. If you want them to stop having to campaign, even though they're not in session while campaigning half the time, you want them to stop having to campaign, stop giving them a reason to campaign. Get someone new in there. Make it actually representative of real people instead of cementing someone in there for 25 years who becomes detached from the outside world. Because Washington, D.C. is fake. It's not a real place. Nowhere else in the world is like it. Philip Stahl. I scratch my beard profusely when I'm stressed too, buddy. Have a few bucks to ease your mind. Hashtag term limit. Excuse me, you mean Burma. Well, James Jones, I wouldn't want to be politically incorrect. If I call it Burma, I'm dead naming it. And dead naming is out of fashion right now. Mr. Snevel says, I feel like term limits favor the party that has people lining around the block to control you. I don't know that it does. Because if you know you're going to be in there for a specific amount of time maximum, you have your amount of time to get your agenda done. You don't have time for other people. That's my opinion. I don't know, man. Maybe you're right. But we gotta do something. And to me, it's not limiting the ability of the American people to compete with the RNC and the DNC. What if you want a third-party candidate? Spending limits prevent a third, but like, if you want to know why there's no Green Party, no Libertarian, no Communist Party, Socialist Party of America candidates or whatever in any level of prominence, they're held to the same regulated spending as everybody else. But what if all that's holding them back? What if all that's holding the Libertarian Party back, or the Make Weed Legal Now Party back, or the Cannabis Party back? What if all that's holding them back is not that their message is unpopular, rather that they can't get enough money to put it out there? And that if just, remember guys, the person voting is not you. You are the exception to the rule. Like, it's not just a pandering blowjob that Rush Limbaugh is giving you when he says, oh, my audience is most informed or whatever. I mean, it is. But at the same time, the fact that you take a modicum of interest in the political process means that you're in the top 25% of people in the United States of information. Just taking interest in the political process means that you're informed at the 75th percentile level or higher. That's embarrassing. But the person walking around isn't you. So let's say you are the best socialist, communist, whatever. And you know that just if you could just get the message to the other volunteer garbage grocery store bagger friends of yours in other states, because you can talk to everybody at your store, but you don't have time to run around to all the other stores with all the volunteer work you do, right? So let's say you're that guy and you know that the best communist candidate would attract millions of people if you could just get them heard. They can't buy the ads, can't buy the time. Why? Because the DNC has decided that their message is better. There's no market competition in political messaging. There are 2 monopolies. The duopoly, they control it all. What entity? Are the Republicans and the Democrats going to come together and pass a law limiting DNC and RNC spending? If not, then this constitutional amendment is garbage. Period. I don't know how else to say it, guys. I don't know how else to say it. I only bring up, by the way, I didn't bring up the cannabis or the legal weed now or the cannabis parties as jokes. Those were literal parties on the ballot in Minnesota. And I never heard of them before I went to the ballot. Why? And I am a huge legal weed guy. I don't even do weed. Don't even do it. Huge legal weed guy. Better for my clients. Better for the state of Minnesota, in my opinion. That said, I didn't even know they existed. Why? Because they can't get the money. Because two organizations soak it all up. Let's say John McAfee comes back. You think he's funding an RNC candidate or a legal weed now candidate? Like, let's say John McAfee comes to Minnesota. I want that guy to put $10 billion into legal weed now. John McAfee, if you want to come to Minnesota, let me help you structure 1 million different LLCs and we'll put all sorts of money into legal weed now or whatever it is. That's my proposal to you, sir. DM me on Twitter, buddy. Also, F Wales. Rocket Ship says that's why voting should be restricted to net taxpayers and active military. Maybe. Maybe. But I'm using these as examples, of course. Doesn't matter. It matters. Doesn't matter that they're ridiculous. It doesn't matter that a naked fat guy on the Libertarian Party screwed up the whole thing, or they screwed up by nominating Gary Johnson, the least libertarian they could find. None of that matters. What matters is, even if they had the perfect candidate, wouldn't be able to message because the DNC and RNC control the market on political speech. They're trying to do it here. And it's no secret, no surprise, doing it in public. And what dark money is influencing all of it, you'll never know. Did John McAfee kill that guy in your opinion? I honestly haven't looked into it enough to know. All right, guys. 2 a.m., 3 hours. I need to turn it off from my blood pressure. My heart rate. Let's see. No, James Jones. I literally don't do weed. I have a law license. There are real problems with my profession if I did. It's risky. I know a lot of attorneys do. That's fine. I don't even criticize them for it. I have nothing against marijuana personally, socially, legally, politically. I don't do it. I literally can't risk my income. Right? I have a family of 5 children. And also, I can't risk my children. If I did weed and some nosy CPS person decided to investigate that, I would risk losing my children over something ridiculous like that. While other people beat their kids and stab them or whatever and keep them. So, no, I'm, until weed is legal, I'm out. I'm in the minute it's legal. I'll say it publicly. The minute marijuana is legal, I'm in. I'll do all the bowls with all the people. I'll eat all the brownies. I'll eat twice as many brownies as you. Whatever. I don't even care. I'm 100% for it. 100%. But at this point in my life, it's too risky for me to do it. That's the reality. So, there you go. All right, guys. I will have to talk to you later. I got to go cool down. It's really hot in the really hot here in the vault. I hope the new mic was good. I've gotten a lot of good feedback. If there's any bad feedback, please go ahead and send it to me and let me know if there's something I need to change. Still getting used to all of this. The interface is completely different from my plug and play Yeti mic. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to go, I don't have ice cream. I'm going to go eat some ramen. It's going to be delicious. You guys have a good night. Talk to you all on Monday at the latest, but I may do some streams over this weekend because I love doing streams. Also, more defamation videos are coming. If you guys like them, please share them. I love doing those videos. They don't get views. They don't get many views. And I know so many people want that type of content, but for whatever reason, it doesn't get promoted. E-drama gets promoted. All of that stuff gets promoted. Actually, long live streams a lot of times get kind of promoted because people watching over a period of time increases the amount of views and stuff like that. So, and then that then pushes them up and up and up. If you like those things, please help spread them to people you think might be interested in them. Help me grow the channel, and that way I will do so many more. There's trusts, there's property, there's criminal, all sorts of criminal charges, all sorts of things. Can have a very detailed 10-minute at a time breakdown. I will do those series until I die because they help me. They help me refine things that I need to bone up on and make sure I'm current on the law. So it's education for me. It's education for other people, which is something I like to do. And I know people are looking for that because I know there are a bunch of people who don't understand law. So help me pass that around. And as that grows, I think we'll see some pretty interesting growth around those types of videos as well. In scope of the channel and the audience, and more opinions. More opinions are better. All right, guys. I'm going to peace out. You guys have a nice night. Talk to you later.